welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Trellos Crawford.
I'm Brett White.
And I'm Adam Straughan.
And we're here to talk Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Gentlemen, overall, what did we think of the season? Adam, I'll call on you first.
You know what? Like, I really enjoyed it. I feel like obviously, like going back comparatively to the first kind of 3 seasons, like they really knew they had to keep like the quality high because we're talking some really good stuff in those initial seasons. And then obviously the way it bleeds into this new season kind of very directly ties into that. So obviously, they're carrying a lot of the weight of that going into it. But no, I really liked it. I liked a lot of the character arcs that we got. It's interesting because this kind of season is very focused on like a particular view, and that's kind of through Fisk and Matt. With like occasionally we get like a bit of a view of like some of the people like of the town as well, obviously of the city, I should say. But yeah, there was some real highs. There was some issues that I had with it going in, but like one of the biggest things is just how bleak it feels because comparatively, how much of like real life you can see in it right now, right? Like, convicted felons in positions of power, like people being disappeared, like there's so much in real life right now that is in this show that just makes you go, yikes. And obviously one of the big questions thematically as well is like, what do you do when the system fails you? And we see that so many times through this show, whether it's Matt asking that question, whether it's, White Tiger asking that question, which I thought was really interesting how different characters approach that. But yeah, no, overall, I really enjoyed it. I loved the ending. Loved the last episode. And the few little winks and nods to the MCU as well through there, I really enjoyed. But there were like a few little things that I do take issue with. But overall, no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty strong.
Brett?
I liked a third of it, and I kind of strongly disliked the other 2/3. But it's only because the Netflix show is one of my favorite shows of all time. Like I love, and also, I'm wearing a Daredevil shirt right now, so like, Matt is a very important character to me, and I also do not know if I wasn't so aware of all the behind the scenes shit, if I would have picked up on it, or like if it would have bothered me as much. But like, I don't know, when my brain knows something like that, I can't stop it, like trying to like piece together like what was going on behind. And for me, just like the fact that the episodes 2 through 7 felt like what would happen if you told. It felt like Netflix scripts handed over to the creators of a USA procedural show, which is literally what it was. Like that's what they did. White Covert Affairs. It was the showrunners of USA's Covert Affairs are the original showrunners of Daredevil Born Again. And when you watch episodes 2 through 7, I'm like, yeah, man, it just feels very. We're operating at a 6 out of 10. Like, yeah. And so like when people are like, yeah, it ended great. And I'm like, yes, it ended great because that is the new showrunners. That is the directors of Moon Knight and then the showrunner of the Punisher Netflix series. Doing those, which is why like I was very just bored in the middle. And then episode 8, bam. It's just like little... What I found so upsetting also was like how I thought that the premiere was so visually engaging and visually interesting. It had its own like language. And then all that is dropped for episodes 2 through 7 in terms of like the interesting ways of showing Matt's abilities, or just like the cinematography and the staging, all that stuff was like so much more rich and stuff. And then it's like very journeyman, basic cable kind of production at the middle. We get into a lot of stuff. I am super fucking stoked for season 2 because it is, created ground up by these people who clearly have a point of view with what they are doing with the show and with what they're doing with like Matt and Karen and fucking Karen. God damn Karen Page.
She's so good. She's so that is a character that could easily be a throwaway character, but Deborah Ann Woll
in the comics very much.
That's one of the few Daredevil runs I've read.
And which I think is like just the fact that these covert affairs people, their first instinct was, well, obviously we need to recast Vanessa Fisk and get rid of
Get rid of the
Foggy and
ensemble,
Karen. We
like
don't need any of those people. And it's like, what? Because
Yeah.
Islet Zur, I fucking loved her as Vanessa Fisk, and I loved what we got to see her do in this season.
Mhm.
It is kind of a bummer that I'm pretty sure all of her stuff was shot in reshoots
I
because you never see her interact with anyone.
no, I so it's weird. I don't I think that first episode is so bad. Like I hated it. I was like, am I gonna hate this show? I thought Daredevil looked like a cartoon character jumping
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
like the way he jumped,
Yeah.
and like the way they killed Foggy. So I had watched 7 minutes of it, and then the next day I recorded some. It was like I was really stoned, and I was like, I'm falling asleep. There wasn't anything that like I was just like whatever, and it was like they had just gotten to the bar. And the next day I recorded with Jamie Dirac and her husband, and I was like, oh, I watched like half the episode. You know, they're at the bar, and Jamie was like, oh, so like you watched Foggy's death, then you turned it off, and I was like, no.
You watched like 2
Oh.
minutes of it.
And she was like, then you did not watch half the episode, Ian. That's in the beginning. And I was like, I'm not mad because I definitely messed up where I was.
Mm.
But like, it's so like it's so weird that it takes such a his death is so abrupt, and it felt so much felt like reshoots. Like it felt like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
well, this is someone else who wanted to put this in there, and we're tacking it into other stuff. And I just
Well, this was like, I mean, Dario Scartapane and then Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, I think are all their names. Like, they were essentially handed, like, okay, we have a couple months to do a Daredevil show where you guys
Right.
fucking didn't use Karen or Foggy for 6 fucking episodes. And so, like, they're handed this, like, here's the problem. How are you going to solve? Like, it's such a big
yes, no, I agree.
problem to solve. And it's like, well, I guess we kill Foggy and then try to like thread that through line throughout the season, like retroactively, and then Karen goes to San Francisco.
Mhm.
It's very
yeah.
obvious.
And like, I don't know, the show. So I talked about it with one of my students today, and he didn't realize that there had been like filmed and then halted and then redone, because he was saying the pacing felt all over the place for him. Like he was
Mhm.
like, it felt sometimes it was like we were like doing comic book stuff, sometimes we were like halted, and I was like, yeah, there's a reason. And like I do agree with you, Brett, though. It's like stuff like that you could feel the reshoots, and that's bad when you can feel the reshoots.
Mhm.
Which unfortunately, that is one consistent problem Marvel has had in a lot of recent things with
And-
their reshoots.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Like Brave New
So-
World was like felt like 800 reshoots.
Yeah, I think tonality as well, you could just tell. Like, as you said, like that first episode felt like a different show. Like, it really did. Like, that first episode was way out there, like, very different. And there was moments of it that that
Yes.
first episode I loved. Like, the bar fight I thought was really interesting. And, like, obviously, like, Matt just pushing, like, Bullseye off the roof and we just see him splat. Like, all of this I thought was really, really... And I thought, fuck yes, like, that's the justice
Yeah.
I want to see. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, you're right. Like, Foggy being taken out in the way that he was. It's like when you watch, like, the first like seasons, and then if you kind of go straight into this, it must feel like the rug has been pulled out under your feet. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like the 3 guys like suddenly dispersed now. One of them's dead. Karen's like, see you, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So like, it must feel like, as you said, Brett, like just completely different from everything we've seen before.
Especially because like again, like what season 3 aired in, was it 2018 or 2019?
And I just watched season 3
2018.
before starting this because I hadn't watched it before.
And so like waiting 6 years or whatever, and then like seeing the 3 of them together was so
nice, yeah,
meaningful.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then but also like to know that they had their fucking hands tied.
Yeah.
I'm telling myself that if these original showrunners hadn't cut Foggy and Karen, that both of them would have been the entire series. Because I don't know if assassinate Foggy is immediately like the first thing you go to when you are when you're yeah. I mean, a little bit of it felt like how we were all stoked for like, yes, Wanda's back in Multiverse of Madness, bitches.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh fuck, they didn't even watch the show. Like they felt kind of like that a
Right.
little.
Like, who is this character?
Yeah, I will say so the only reason I didn't watch Daredevil season 3 before was just because that was when they were like culling them all, and it was like these aren't
Yeah.
going to be canon. So I was like, well, I'm not going to bother then.
Right.
So like I
Right.
didn't watch the last seasons of Punisher, Daredevil, or Iron Fist.
Iron Fist 2 is good. It's okay.
But like
it's pretty fun.
I just didn't like season 1, but I
No, it's
loved
awful. It's horrible.
I love the seasons of Daredevil and Punisher that I had watched prior to this, so I was like down to watch it. But it was a little bit of like, I did forget those shows are very slow paced. Like there is a lot of we're sitting and talking and we're having awkward silences, which I don't mind, but it was a very change of pace from like what we're used to with the Marvel stuff. And going to this where like, I think it was, who's the guy that did the original show that was also on Buffy? The Steven
Drew
DeKnight?
Goddard,
Drew Goddard.
created it. Yeah, he did the first season.
Like did something
Well,
where
and
he was...
Stephen DeKnight, who did Angel, did season 2.
Right, yes. And he also did the Spiral episode of Buffy, which is like the episode with the most action. He had said like, oh, well, they were able to do these cool things because they had the budget and it was CGI. We didn't have that budget. And I was like, but I don't think it looked cool. Like,
no, that first episode, yikes! Like when he was running on the rooftops,
yes,
I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, what backlot of like which studio is he running on here? Because this looks nasty.
I do like that. I did enjoy their interpretations of that Daredevil like later on in the season. I don't know if it's just like they got more time to work with it, but because I realized like, oh yeah, the like super nimble like grappling hook Billy Club Daredevil we never really got in Netflix. Like he would bludgeon people with his Billy Club, but he wouldn't really swing via it. So I you know, the fight in the season finale of him and Frank in his apartment with him just so like
good.
Oh my god,
flinging people around with his Billy Club. I was like, yes, I approve. This is good. I like that.
See, that's for me. That's like what the weird difference was in the fights, because it's like that was cool. The like there was many times when it was like, oh, this is fucking cool, but then other times like even White Tiger when he saves the person on the subway. When the train goes by, I was like, why does this look like such a bad green screen? Like, and there was just like certain times when it looked god awful. And then other times it looked great. And I was like, what? I understand that that's kind of like no one but Disney's fault. Like that's like them rushing everything along and like not giving them. But that was like distracting sometimes. Is it the end of episode 2 or 3 where Daredevil beats those cops up?
It's the end of episode 2 where he clearly fucking murders 2
and
cops.
Then they're alive.
And like, so this speaks to another problem. I do wonder if that fight specific, because episode 2 was original, but I do wonder if they maybe sweetened that fight scene, because like one of the things that in general about Born Again's rollout that I found I don't like is the like. It's as if people's only takeaway from Netflix was like, yeah, blood, man. It was fucking violent, man.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, it was also like really well acted and well directed and really well shot and really like it's a really good show. And then like it also was like bloody, but like that isn't the blood. And so like all the trailers were just like hyper violent, and it's like this is what we took. So part of me kind of sees that fight in episode 2 of just like what the like okay, this is it but like. If those cops had been dead, like they clearly were, then that is fascinating. That's a cool story, because then how the fuck does Matt Murdock justify I just murdered 2 cops in the apartment of like the witness that I'm trying? Like that was like for a week I was like that's a huge problem, and then it's like oh no, he's that one cop is like back at the courtroom the next day with like a black eye on Monday.
There is a neck snap noise when that man lands on his head, and it's like. What?
And isn't he snapping limbs and everything as well? And the next day you see them like, yep, we're good, like cartwheeling their way around. But yeah, that's a really good point that you brought up as well, Brex. I feel like, you know, when we were seeing like Daredevil in like other properties as well prior to this show coming out, like, you know, there is that such big focus now on like the corridor fight scene from Daredevil that everybody talks about. And then when we saw like Daredevil and Miss Marvel, suddenly we get a corridor fight scene. So it did feel like we were leaning on that very much so.
Yeah,
She-Hulk. Yeah, but I loved him, and I loved. Yeah. But what I also loved about his She-Hulk appearance was it showed, and okay, I will say we did get to see a little bit of this Matt in this season. I loved wasn't like the Matt Murdock that fucking knows he's hot. He can't see himself. He doesn't know how well he's aged, but he fucking knows he's hot. The scene, I don't know if it's episode 3 or 4, when he goes to that random like DA or whatever, ADA, and just is like flirting with her to get that guy's sentence down, the Cracker Jack stealer. He's like, come on. And just how
and he was charming. He was
how fucking hot and charming he is, and how the show knows that, and then how like the characters in the show also. And I just like, that's another thing that I just love about Daredevil. It's just such a fucking mess.
I told Adam this, but the finale when Punisher's like, he's like says that he wants to take Karen for coffee, but then he says to Daredevil, "Do you want to go get coffee?" Like, went on AO3 immediately, found some Punisher Daredevil, had my reading material.
When that line happened, me and my husband turned to each other. We were like, "Are we going there? Because I am ready for this show."
Yeah, I mean, our good Catholic boy knows how to just fucking fuck. Like,
I mean,
and I think this is also why I love Elektra so much on this show, is because of the like dangerous, steamy, fucked up chemistry that the two of them have that feels very dangerous.
I really do hope we bring back Elodie Young, so I think she is like fantastic as Elektra.
Just it's so like she has that faith energy of like anytime Eliza Dushku shows up, it's just like, oh my god, everything's going wrong now. What's gonna happen?
This is hot, but I might get murdered. But I'm still into it.
But like, so like what I loved about I don't know, just to speak to sort of like that episode 1-2 like switch, 1-2 switch. God, I'm sorry. What I liked about the visual language that I noted of like when Benson and Moorhead decided to show Daredevil's hypersenses, they did fucked up shit with the aspect ratios, like stretching things out and like zooming in, and like I thought that was super new and interesting. They also always shot things from very far away but zoomed in, or like across a street, across a bar, and it gave you this kind of like you're in the city too.
Yeah.
And you're seeing, oh, what's that conversation over there? It made New York feel lived in a weird way. And then you smash to episode 2 and it's just like very basic. And it's like, and that is and then it goes very legal procedural. And
so I gotta say that end of episode 2, I was like, wait, I am gonna like, because I did like him when I thought they were murdered. I was like,
yes,
I'm into this. Okay, I do like, and they did a lot of, he didn't do it as much in the Netflix show, but he does it like every other episode where he's just like, ah! Just like yells.
Which,
oh my god,
hard same.
Listen, like, I even text you about this, like when you had the fight with Muse and like had him strung up, and I was like, Matt's face in that moment is unhinged, and I absolutely love it. Like, I am here for it. I mean, Charlie Cox is fantastic in this role. We all know that.
Really
but I think at that point as well, there was just so much frustration and anger and everything pent up in that moment, that just that face he pulls, I was like, fuck, I'm absolutely here for this. At any time he leaned into the crazy a little bit more, I was fully there for it. I was fully on board.
Yes.
What I didn't like was like that middle chunk, like the original iteration of the show, which it made me annoyed because so much of it was Matt again being like, I've put the costume away, I'm not going to be Daredevil. I'm like, we did this. This is what season 3, I think a lot of season 3 was.
I just watched season 3, so yes. And
I'm like, what, like, why? And again, it's one of those, like, I don't understand if you're approached by Marvel and is like, hey, we're bands back together, you guys are now the showrunners. I don't understand why this is the story you choose to tell. And the whole like story is that when the dual writers and actor strikes happened and they had to shut down production, that's when I think the rumors are is that Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio like pulled Kevin Feige aside, were like, this is not the show we wanted to fucking make.
Oh really? That they
and you see like Charlie Cox, like Matt Murdock is not Daredevil for like 5 whole episodes.
My student pointed that out. He was like, the thing that really bothered me is he's only Daredevil like in 3 episodes this whole show. And
yeah, it is like, so that shows like why they had to fix all this, and that is like annoying. I will say, I don't know if we want to, like, the very first story arc we get though is the White Tiger thing, which does introduce a lot of the broken justice system and also the Punisher cops, like I think, which were part of that initial show. So like that was really interesting stuff.
Oh, they were? I assumed that they were because
I don't know. I mean, that could have been. I don't see. I need to see when they announced that John Bernthal was going to be on it because the very first episode that we see John Bernthal, which is like episode 3 or 4, when like
Yeah.
Matt goes to his
Three.
house,
Yeah.
One of the writers credited on that episode is a writer that is, I think, also credited on episode 8 or 9, I think.
Oh, so it might have been. Yeah.
That
And
makes
so I'm
sense.
wondering, like, I wonder if that scene was written by and like added as part of the rewrites. Like, so I don't know if that. But
Well,
yeah.
Talking about that, I am so surprised with what they were like Disney allowed them to do.
Oh, especially in the finale.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like this and X-Men 97 have been pleasant.
And Andor season 2. Just fucking wait, guys.
I'm
Jesus
excited.
Christ.
Jesus.
Of the Marvel stuff that I have been pleasantly surprised at Disney. I almost think it's like to our benefit that Disney has had stuff that's tanked lately, because now they're just like, fine, do the progressive thing you faggots want to do. Like, go ahead.
It is so wild to me when you're watching The Punisher eviscerate dozens and dozens of crooked police officers who are wearing his symbol without actually knowing what the fuck his symbol means, which is literally a thing that cops actually do.
Yep.
The fact that Disney Plus has allowed that, but it's like, oh wait, a trans character on a Pixar animated show? No. Part of me is like, I don't know how the hell this made it to Disney. Like, it's so wild.
Yeah. I really don't understand like what's
glad it did.
Like, yeah,
so glad it did.
Yes. Because like Matt beating the shit out of them was very gratifying to watch, and then Punisher like literally murdering a ton of them was just so gratifying.
Honestly, go off, King. But yeah, you're right. And then even like the head smush in the finale, I was like, am I watching Game of Thrones? Like, is this happening?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe it. But to talk a little bit about Punisher for a second, like, wasn't it John Bernthal as well, who like literally was like, when the character was first presented to him in the way that he was going to be originally, he was like, nah, I'm out. Like, I am not interested in the way this character is written.
Yeah.
And then they had to go back and kind of be like, okay, we need to retweak this character because he ain't on board, which is wild because I loved what we got with him in this show.
Yeah.
Loved it. So I almost kind of want to know and don't want to know what he was written like prior to see how shit that was. Because I mean, I loved him in this. I love that episode when him and Matt is talking together in his house, as you said, Brett.
Yeah,
and like,
why does Matt know where that is? And also,
right.
I also just am so fucking glad that we never got. I mean, there are a lot of larger MCU like eye roll, groan, WDF. Why the fuck did you do this to us, Russos? Why are we living in the world you made? Kind of thing of just like, yeah, where the fuck was Punisher during the goddamn blip? And like, you know, how long has Kingpin been away? How does Hawkeye fit into this? Why is Swordsman there? Like, Jack Duquesne and Wilson Fisk have scenes together, and it's like Wilson Fisk and Hawkeye tried to have you murdered, and your like fiance is in jail because she was working with Kingpin, but both of you are acting like you don't know that happened. But also, I'm just like, who cares? This is enough stuff. Just like let it go. Repeat yourself. It's just MCU continuity post Endgame. Really, just relax.
So the thing there that I will say. They do the comic book thing, which I like, actually. I like the idea of being like, we don't have to address the story. These characters exist.
Yeah. Time
and
way,
that's like, you know, I think of all the time when I like fell behind on the like Marvel event of whatever that year was, the comics event Siege. And so I remember like when I was catching up on it, Thor dies at the end. Thor was already back to life by the time that trade came out. Thor was no longer dead, and I was like, I just read a recent issue, and we don't even mention that he died 3 months ago, and like that's reading comic books, right?
Yeah. And it's like, hey, yeah, and I think that's kind of just like the best way to look at it.
Yeah, that's what I try to do with that stuff. This is one of the few times I saw an interview with the newer showrunners where they said the reason they didn't want to include anyone else is because they wanted it to feel more bleak. And I get that. But this is one of those times when I'm like, but like these heroes live there.
Yeah.
They live there. So like
And also, well, I mean, did they say that about season 2, or did they say that about the season finale?
Because when he walks into the bar, they said a lot of people thought the defense.
Oh
I
yeah,
did
I
too.
was, I was,
Yeah,
I was
same.
They
hoping
didn't.
for Luke Cage
They
at least, like, or
There
Jessica
was space
Jones.
at the end for them,
yeah.
definitely.
And they said they wanted it to feel bleaker, and it like wanted it to be the
Well,
characters we had seen.
yeah, that makes me. This is just a bunch of fucking cops, a
Yeah.
bunch of ex-cops, and then Josie the bartender. I'm like, I can't wait to see her with like a bat.
Yeah.
Who's going to town.
She'll be that one lady from Halloween Kills with like the iron.
Yeah.
Oh, my queen.
One of the things that of the supporting cast, though, what really did annoy me about that middle chunk of the show, especially coming after the retconned new season premiere that wrote out Karen and Foggy, was like so much of the middle of this season felt like Matt in a void of like Matt not having anyone, because like they replaced Karen and Foggy with ostensibly Kirsten and Cherry, but they gave them nothing to do.
Yeah.
And these are two characters that those original showrunners, like, they wrote, they cast those actors, they wrote these 6 episodes, they made those 6 episodes, and you're telling me they didn't want them to do anything for 6 fucking episodes, basically? And I'm like, you can't. What is wild to me is like the new showrunners in episodes 8 and 9 do more with Kirsten than the previous 7 episodes.
Yeah, I think that's one of my issues, is that like it feels like they tried to, even though the Foggy and Karen weren't in it, they tried to be like, no, there's like an ensemble cast, but we didn't see any of them enough.
No,
I thought the I don't even know what the hell he was. The guy that was kind of like the one that shook up informants and would go find info for Matt.
Yeah, like is ex-cop Cherry. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's an interesting dynamic. He's a great actor. I really liked the moment in the White Tiger trial when all of a sudden Matt is like, well, I'm going to introduce these White Tiger into evidence because I don't got any other recourse. And I love the moment where Kirsten turns around and looks at Cherry and he just goes like he does this like shrug of like, I don't know, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Is Matt Murdock? And I was like, that's great.
I did think those characters, those two, had potential, but like we didn't see them enough and they didn't do enough, which is so weird.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems for me, like in relation to them, is like obviously Foggy and Karen, like because they were so fleshed out and such great characters, obviously they've got the history with Matt, we get that. But even if you take Matt out of the equation and we get scenes with just them two, they make sense because we know those characters because they're so fleshed out. Whereas like Kirsten and Cherry, so much of this show, as I say, is through the lens of like what is attached to Matt, what is attached to Fisk. And therefore, when you take Matt out of the equation, these characters don't really mean anything, and that's nothing to the actors or anything. It's just the writing hasn't given them much to do. And then when Matt walks in the room, then when Matt walks back in the room, they're like, oh, suddenly we can come alive now because the lens of which we're being seen through is now back. And that's one of the biggest issues that I did have, is that when you saw, and don't get me wrong, like I love Matt and obviously Fisk as well, and those actors phenomenal, but like when everybody's attached to them and you take them out, suddenly nobody else matters, and that's one of the bigger problems of the show for me.
Yeah,
that's a really good point, Adam. Yeah, I think
especially if you're also not giving us Daredevil, if you're also not giving us costume Daredevil action, it's like, what do we do? And then the other new character, like Heather, again, which is another one of those like, well, this could be interesting.
That's the psychiatrist, right?
Yeah, when she killed Muse, like she shot Muse.
Yeah, it's like what, like again, like this, it could be, again, it doesn't get interesting until the new showrunners come on. Like the fact that she is playing marriage counselor to the Fisks. Like Matt should have found that out in episode 4, and that should have been a thing. Or her out of nowhere hatred of vigilantes.
Right.
Which comes in like the original, like that 6 episode stretch. It's like, well, where was this? Earlier.
They needed to make us care about her more. I only cared about her in relation to like, well, I don't want Matt's girlfriend to die.
Yeah, and it's like, okay. And obviously I relate to her as someone that wants to fuck Charlie Cox. Like we get that. I mean, we are predisposed to liking and relating to her. And also, again, a really good actress. I think that there's a lot of potential there, but it's like, again, like you're writing Deborah Ann Wall out, and you're leaving us with just like nothing.
And if you're not going to put that much effort into these side characters, keep it the old side characters, because we already care about them. We already know them. You don't have to like reestablish these people for us because we know them. But if you're giving us all new side characters, we gotta care a little about them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like every time she mentioned that she didn't like vigilantes, like I thought, are we building up to something here? Does she actually know that Matt is Daredevil?
Right.
And then that kind of went nowhere, and I was like, well, you're just repeating yourself. Like as a
Yeah.
psychiatrist, what are you doing? But I did like at the end, like when she obviously made that deal with Fisk, I was like, oh, now we're getting the juicy stuff.
Yeah.
It's right at the
Yes. Yeah.
end,
Yeah.
but I love that
Yes.
turncoat of her. I thought, yes, here we go, something interesting
Finally.
with her.
I
Yeah.
also really loved I thought that the actress that played was it Ava Ayala, Hector's niece.
Oh yeah, oh
The
yeah.
which we get that shot of her in the season finale of just like when
Mhm.
they're in the monologue of like Matt being like, we're gonna take our city back, and I was like so fucking hoping. Again, this is the Marvel nerd in me, like, yeah, man, come on, show her clutching that amulet, come on, give her to me. But I'm also like, but I love her. The White Tiger stuff early on was very good that it was early on because it was very strong, and I think that it got the show off on a solid footing.
Yeah.
Because that actor, so good.
Yeah.
And then of course the niece, I also loved. I loved her going to Matt's office and him being like, "What do you want me to do?" And her's like, "I don't know. How about anything?"
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's the vibe. That's the mood. Yeah, why don't you fucking do anything? Just
Like-
something.
What do you do when the system fails you? You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I loved her asking that question by basically being in that scene and saying that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And I was devastated when that actor went, when after that episode of like, oh my god, he's won his court case and like White Tiger's innocent. Everybody believes in White Tiger, suddenly bam, dead.
Yeah.
But and I was good. And obviously, R.I.P. to that actor.
Yeah,
Incredible
so
actor.
sad.
Yeah, so sad.
Camar
to see
de los
that.
Reyes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And wonderful in that role.
Yeah.
But yeah, like leading in, it's another thread going into season 2. Will she pick up that amulet, Brett, as you said? I don't know, but I want to see it because I loved that actress so
Yeah.
much.
And it's a really good like legacy of like White Tiger. It also bringing. I don't know. Anytime you make us remember like the good parts of this season, it's like, hey, that's great. Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
absolutely.
No, yeah, I liked her and Ben Urich's, was it her granddaughter or niece? I forget.
His niece, who
But they didn't do enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is what, like, again, I loved Ben Urich. I loved his story arc in season 1, way back in the day.
Does he die in
And
season 2 or 1?
He dies in season 1, like at
Oh,
the
it
end
is
of
one?
season
Okay.
1. And knowing that Fisk kills him, and so like when she shows up in episode like 2 and she goes into Fisk's office, and I'm just like, oh bitch, here we fucking go. I cannot wait to see this. I'm here for this, like, Gen Z millennial cusp like girl, like
Yeah.
being like, I'm dragging you down. It's like, no. Does she even know that? No, I don't know.
I wasn't sure on that either because I was positive she did, and then I was like, wait, maybe she doesn't.
And then
know.
she
I
does,
don't
and
know.
then I think the very, very, very end season finale, she does.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
when she's talking to the commissioner, she's like, "Don't you think that's why I wanted to get close to him?" And it's like,
Yeah.
"Well, I'm glad the new showrunners knew that."
But also, it's like, but girl, what were you doing? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
'cause you're just
understand.
going
Like,
along.
BB Vision. She was just doing her TV.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I
using people on the street.
I hated that.
Same.
Because
actually.
it's just
Yeah.
like, man, like YouTube videos don't look like this. TikTok doesn't look like this. Like,
Yes.
this is so edited and produced, and I'm like, no, you need to just fucking. I am sorry. I firmly believe that all video should be fucking horizontal because our eyes are horizontal. But I'm like, if you want realism, it needs to be
Yeah.
vertical and all. Like, because I'm just imagining her sitting down at like Final Cut for hours, like putting on filters and like chopping up B-roll and stuff. And I don't think she's doing this.
I mean,
And I think,
Okay.
I think the thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit about those sequences was like, for me, it was a classic case of tell, don't show. Like, it was just telling how the people of the city, like,
Yeah.
felt about this. And I don't know, the original seasons, you saw more of that, like the impact on the city and the people and like, how it directly impacted them and their rising up of, oh no, like we need to, and then this kind of felt like, let us tell you this. And it's just like when you saw, what was it, swordsman fighting at one point, it was like, well, that
Yeah.
didn't fucking matter. Like there was just all of that. When you saw these little clips, I was like, what are we showing here? Like what is this? Is this giving her more of a spotlight even though she's not even in the clips? Like,
Yeah, because she was barely on the show.
I didn't,
Right.
I didn't mind them, but I know a lot of people, like almost everyone I've talked to did not like them. But yeah, I felt like we didn't do quite enough. Like,
yeah,
there's a weird thing that like, so, right, I mean, I lived in New York, you both live in New York. There is a really weird thing that is constantly in the media, even something like this that is clearly progressive leaning, where it's like, oh, New York, you can't do anything. Like you walk down the street and you get robbed. And I like
Yeah.
that was a little ham-fisted to me. Like
Mm.
I'm like, come on, like
Yeah.
you can't live somewhere if there's a person being murdered in front of you every day. Like
Every day, yeah.
you can't, and people
Oh,
wouldn't live in New
then it's
York.
Gotham. Then it's like it is
Right.
fucking
Right.
godly.
And like that is like a thing that bothers me about New York. Like I always have people like, oh well, it's so dangerous. So like, but even my father, I mean, my dad's super conservative, but even recently I was mentioning that to him, and he was like, well, you had a few encounters, and I was like, no, I didn't.
No.
Like
Ian,
ever.
like I got the same. Like obviously,
Yeah,
you know,
no.
Brett, yeah. If you can't tell, Brett, I'm from the UK. But yeah, like before I like properly moved over here, so many people were saying to me like, "Oh my god, you're going to New York? You can't go out past 9 p.m." I'm like, "What? Like
Well,
why?"
in Fisk's New York, you can't go
Right.
out past 8.
Right,
I also
right.
love that. I always thinking of like, man, good luck with that, babe. Like,
Mhm.
you're gonna impose an 8 p.m. curfew on New York City? Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Just that, yeah, that'll piss off everyone.
So let's talk about Fisk because
Mm.
I did have the same issues and likes that I did with Fisk. Seasons 1 and 3 of Daredevil. 2 is when he's like in jail most of the time.
Yeah, he's
right?
only in like 2 episodes.
Yeah. Vincent D'Onofrio is truly fantastic. He
Oh
does
my
such
God.
weird things with Kingpin that I love, but sometimes we sit too long with Kingpin where I'm like, all right, what are we doing?
Mm.
Yeah. The only time I like that was in the him going from his boring day as mayor, where he just kept hearing Jefferson starships. We built this city song.
Yeah.
Which I kudos to the original team for making probably the most laugh out loud moment of any Daredevil ever. Like that was so funny.
And seeing
Yeah.
his face of
everywhere
like,
oh my
like
god!
he just wanted to
Like-
get
And
the
then the
fuck out of
kids be
there.
like,
Right.
no, you got great, bye. It's like Wilson Fisk can like shove people's heads on fence spikes and crush them, but like the kids singing, he cannot. I love that.
does know how to navigate a child. But there's we spent so much time with him, and in season 3 of Daredevil, I had this issue too. A lot of him doing nothing.
Mm.
I don't know that it did.
The camera loves him.
Also, I do have a question for both of you. Adam, I might have asked you this when we were texting about it. Who the hell did he kill in that basement? Because I thought he killed the man she had an affair with, but he kills someone in that basement that he like punches their head down into like the side of a table. I thought it was the man she had an affair with, but it wasn't because she kills the man she had the affair with.
Yeah,
Or
like
did
she
he
shoots
just
him, right?
Yeah, did he just beat the shit out of him?
I thought he just beat him and then
He
he like
punches his face off.
Well,
Right.
hey, Daredevil's
True.
shoving cops' heads into parquet floors and it ain't doing nothing. So I guess the vertebrae are very strong. That's why
Fair.
Fisk had to go for the jaw and the scalp and not the neck snap.
right.
I don't know.
I really was like, why wouldn't he? That would be so much easier to just like crush his
my
neck. Like,
So on the Fisk tip, this also drove me fucking crazy. So like, first of all, like I love Vanessa Fisk. Like honestly, it's one of those like the stereotype of like gays will be like, yeah, sociopath work. You know, I love like Vanessa Fisk's arc on that Netflix show of like she's just a fucking art dealer. By the end of season 1, she finds out her boyfriend's Kingpin. She's like, sign me the fuck up. I want power. And I'm like, I love that. And so I love that we get a Vanessa that's like been running shit and is still like ordering hits and all this stuff. And I'm like, that is
and is
so
almost
great.
more annoyed that Fisk is in power, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love that. And then it hit me that like, oh yeah, she's a former art dealer. And the only like heightened supervillain character of this season is Muse, a supervillain artist who uses blood as his paintings. And the show does nothing with this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, this is right there. Like a more tightly and intently plotted show would have like, I don't know, at least made the connection. That just was like just low hanging fruit that they just like, because like with a lot of the Muse stuff was very, I don't know, we need a fight. I don't
Hands up. So we're still talking about Fisk, but hands up.
Yes.
I did like the Muse episode, even though at some points it looked like it was shot like a telenovela.
Oh,
I did like it. And I did like the
I
background.
appreciate that I love that it happened because it was finally Daredevil doing something.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that they went like weird Saw type with him.
Yeah.
But
And I always do appreciate anytime they pull beyond Electra Bullseye Kingpin.
yeah, I didn't even know this character.
Yeah, Muse
Right.
is from the Charles Soule Ron Garney run from like 2018. Like, so I'm like, oh, good. There are more characters like that.
Yeah, and like I yes, because I know some people. I know people had complaints about that episode. I still don't why did it look shot like that? Like when they were in that layer, I don't understand why it looked like that.
Yeah, it was wild. Have you heard like Vincent D'Onofrio like just talk generally like in interviews? Because his voice that he puts on for Fisk is unbelievable when you hear his normal voice.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this the same guy?
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast the other day and it was him being interviewed, and I'm like, this isn't Vincent D'Onofrio. I had to, like double check because I want him to talk so broken up like this.
Right, even
That's a
Which
just
pretty
like
good
I
point,
love.
Adam.
the fact that just shaving his head completely
Right.
changes how he looks totally.
Mm,
Like with a beard and hair, he just, and not even like a little beard and a little hair, he looks completely different. Like it's something just he completely transforms, and it's really, really terrifying. But I also do think that like I felt that Vincent D'Onofrio, I don't know, I kind of was like, I see why they went and complained to Kevin Feige. I felt like Vincent D'Onofrio was kind of, I don't know if this is me projecting, but I felt like he was frustrated, but with the material for a lot of like that
Yeah.
middle chunk, because a lot of his scenes are doing marriage counseling stuff and sitting in the mayor's office, and just which is also had the potential to be meaty.
Mm.
And I think he finally got good shit at the end.
Like,
I Oh, sorry, go on, Ian.
I like the idea of the marriage counseling. I do like the
Yes.
idea of it. They're just we could have had that mixed with, because like I can't even remember, aside from maybe beating that other man and not killing him and the head smush, did he do any like, was there any other like fights that he did?
Well, that's what I was kind of going to build on. Is like I like one thing I did like about Fisk in this, and obviously like him putting down kind of the kingpin mantle and obviously
Mhm.
picking it back up by the end. I did like the moments of when he tries to figure out how can I still threaten people without being kingpin. So like when he threatens the commissioner with the sandwich and stuff like that, and then
Yes.
it kind of builds up to stuff. Like I love when you get flashes behind his eyes of I could really
Yeah.
go there, but I'm having to pull myself back here.
Yeah.
I think Vincent D'Onofrio delivered that so well.
Mhm.
And then obviously, stuff like that builds up. And then this whole, like, having the guy in the basement, he's like, I could fucking kill you in any second. The only reason why I'm not is because I've got Vanessa. And obviously, Vanessa takes care of that for him. And then I love, like, building up to the end when he's like, pure just backing Kingpin, smushes that guy's head. And at that point, everyone's like, oh, fuck, like, he's back. Like, and that's what I really liked. I liked that slow, gradual build up back to that. But yeah, like the marriage counseling stuff, I think it was good in idea, but kind of it was like dragged out in execution for me. And I was like, okay, like let's move this along. Like this isn't the Sopranos. We're not doing like marriage counseling here. Like let's move this along a little bit, please.
Like I got a kick out of, I think it is the guy she asks about when she's like, where is he now? And they both were like, well, they like scramble to lie. That shit's fun. I do get a kick out of that, but like there wasn't enough of that. And his girlfriend just wasn't interesting. The way it felt bleak, Adam, I can't decide. So I remember back when Twin Peaks: The Return came out, Adam Sass, who was a regular on the podcast, saying he felt different about it, his first reaction as opposed to what his reaction is now. But I remember him saying, no more Trump metaphors while Trump's in power because they don't work as well. Because he was like, they just feel too much, especially when he's in power. And I feel like I might have thought that way about Fisk here because I appreciated what they were doing. I really did. I was like, I can't believe Disney's letting them just be like, yeah, make the main villain a Trump, like just do that. And
except that's so disrespectful to Kingpin.
Like that's the thing is like Kingpin would hate him.
And also just like Kingpin is like smart and can plan. But
right.
See, I think if they're gonna go as what's also so fucking harrowing is that like these episodes 8 and 9 were written a year ago and like shot so like but it's just like they saw the writing on the wall, I guess. Fucking hell. So part of me is like I'm kind of like, no, fucking lean the fuck in, like make it like this is, I mean, I just spent a long time talking to my therapist about this, and my recap of the season finale is mostly this of just like I am sick of the pussyfooting around so we can get conservative dollars. Where like Disney will air this, but then they'll still roll back DEI or like whatever. It's like no, we have to like fucking stop that. It has to be like fucking full stop. Like conservatives, Marvel Comics is not fucking for you. period. You no longer get fucking Superman, Batman, Star Wars, even fucking G.I. Joe is liberal compared to what you were fucking doing, motherfuckers. And you don't get to enjoy that shit anymore. And if you want that shit, you got to make your own shit, because this shit is not for you. And we don't give a fuck if you aren't, going to the theme parks or buying the toys. And I'm like, lean the fuck into this, because it's the only way.
It's never been for them. And that's the crazy part, is a lot of them
the goddamn crazy thing
are like our ages or older, and like they seem to have like weird rose-colored glasses of like, no, it used to be, and it's like, no, it never fucking was. The
Captain
X-Men
America
were always
was touching Hitler in 1940. Like,
the X-Men's villains in 1993 were legislation that was being voted on by the government. That was the bad guy, a senator. So don't pretend that it's like, oh, suddenly. But yeah,
like, what I love about that's why I love what they're doing with Punisher. Punisher's a character I hated, and I still don't like him, but like the John Bernthal version. So like, I don't know. I am sure there are YouTube screeds right now about the pussification of the Punisher, but like doing in that finale of having the cops who he's already murdered dozens of them. And they've then beat the shit out of him and have him tied to a chair, and they're still like, yo man, but like, it'd be really fucking cool if you
we're
party
cool,
with us.
right?
Like,
Yeah.
like, we're totally cool. You understand what I love is that he's like, why do you fucking want to be me? You don't know what it is like to be me. You don't know what I'm feeling. My wife and kids were murdered. I have PTSD from going and fighting a pointless war. I hate being alive. I feel no love. I have no home. I have no joy. My entire life is murder for the greater good. And all you motherfuckers go home to your wives and your kids, and you go play softball, and like, you still think that you can live a normal life while being a badass murderer. And it's like, no, the trade-off is you're a stone cold fucking murderer and you get to have no soul. Like, that is the trade-off for living like Punisher. And so many fucking, it is the same as the fucking billionaire pussies who pay tons and tons of money for a weekend trip where a boot camp guy, like a drill sergeant, yells at them. Like that kind of shit. It's like that Elon Musk, alpha male bullshit of like, this is not, it's so disingenuous. So I'm like, I am all for this version of the Punisher.
The fact that he calls them clowns as well is like perfect. It's the perfect
because
insult.
that is the kind of insult that those jabronis
exactly.
Like
1,000%. And but like, so I guess like, I don't, did either of you see Mickey 617?
No, I haven't.
I've seen half of it.
Okay, so Mark Ruffalo plays a basically like 1-for-1 Trump character, and it didn't really work for me.
Okay. Probably did not go hard enough.
No,
it was a caricature. I think,
it was too
you can't
silly,
do caricature.
And like,
it's dangerous. You got to show how dangerous it is.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know. I don't even think it was that. I think it's just like he does Trump. He does his mannerisms. He talks like him. He's like overly tan. He has like weird fake teeth and like his hair and whatever. And I don't know. For me, I just like, I feel like if we're doing it, it's got to be like, I do want what you said, Brett. I want conservatives to be like, I know what this is, and mad because like, fuck you. But I feel like for me, I need it to be like a little bit more creative than like kind of 1-for-1. I don't know. I don't know what my complaint. I don't even know what my complaint is here, because like, I do love Kingpin. I think he's one of the best MCU villains.
Agreed.
I think if anything came out of those Netflix shows, it's him and Kilgrave are like their two best villains.
Well, I think what you were saying there, Ian, like when you were talking about Mark Ruffalo, is that, you were pointing out directly, like almost like the costume that Mark Ruffalo is wearing, and like the character doesn't follow through, whereas Kingpin does not look like that, but his actions follow like for like literally what is happening. So I think that's why it has the bigger impact. And that's why I was saying the bleakness of this show, which I do love, is we are seeing this, as I said, like right at the opening, a convicted felon who is now in a position of power, like over the city. We've got people, he's got his own task force that are disappearing people without due process. We are seeing this live and it's happening. And if anyone says, oh, but wait, well, this is what's happening. We're holding a mirror up to society. If you need to see it in this way, fair enough, but this is what's happening. And that's what makes it more scary.
And it also kind of does a job. I think a lot of people wave away actual Republicans because they're so stupid and they say stupid shit. And so therefore, like, the dangerous shit they do could be hand waved away. Whereas like when you put the literal things they do into the hands of actual supervillains of like, this is a fucking supervillain. It kind of is like, oh, right. Yeah, no, that is bad.
Yeah.
It didn't
Yeah.
seem as bad because it was coming from a Joker. No, but when it's coming from the Joker, it's
The
horrible.
DJ, yeah.
Right. Or a mayor of a city.
Yeah.
I will also. Oh, I was going to just say that we haven't talked about the bank episode, which I think is telling of where that bank episode sits in my esteem. I don't know.
So before we do that, I just want to point out, because Adam, you did say this when we were talking about it, when I was like, I don't understand why people aren't mad about this. Like, the X-Men was too woke, but this is not. Like, I don't. And you were like, well, it's because it's like straight white guys. That's why they're not mad. And like, that is 1,000% why they weren't mad.
We said this. We said if you replace Matt Murdock with a queer black woman and everything the same happened, literally everything like for like, people would go fucking insane because of that.
Disney
Absolutely
Disney cancels The Acolyte, which was like fine. Like, if I don't even understand what was so offensive about that show beyond just people of color and women, because it was just like, this seems like the most like Star Warsy bait Star Warsy stuff that y'all have gotten in a while, but like, whatever.
But so I want to talk about the bank robbery episode because I love that episode. It was one of my favorite episodes of the season.
Hated it. My least favorite.
Loved it. I'm charmed by Kamala's family.
Yeah.
I gotta say, because this is I have two humble brags. I had lunch with Zenobia Straughan, who played Kamala's mother.
Yes,
and so when he mentioned her, I was like, oh, I'm so glad. Because she had said they were unsure if they would be coming back because the Marvels like got like such bad. She was like, I'm not sure, honestly. And like, that's a fucking bummer because like, the thing they did so well with Ms. Marvel was like they made which is our issue with Born Again, is like, but they made the human characters interesting. They were fun.
Yeah. The family dynamic was great.
Yeah. And like, so I know some people, and I know this isn't what you knock, Brett, but I know some people will knock like, well, why do we have to see? And it's like, but that feels comic booky where like, Kamala Khan's dad is just
100%
there at a bank robber. Sure. I liked them having to work together. I actually liked, and that's the only time we see her aside from the end, right? The Asian woman who was like the cop.
Yeah.
No,
I think she's in the bar in the very first scene with Cherry because they're both like
she's
two
sitting
cops.
talking to him.
But but that's like it.
So like, I did like her, and like, that's a good job if we're like, and I was like, oh, okay, she's there. I still was like, well, no one here is going to help. They're all humans, but whatever. She's there at the end. I like that episode because I like a bottle episode, and I can be very hit or miss with stuff like that. But this, I don't know why I did really like it. It was maybe one of my favorite episodes. I'm sorry, Brett.
No, it was just
you.
No, I just think that it, and it's not even what I wrote. Like, it wasn't my main ridiculous critique, which I guess I can actually make on this podcast because this is a gay podcast. It wasn't cunty enough. Daredevil Born Again was not serving cunt until episode 8 or 9. And what I mean, and I did like a very long screen comparing it to Lady Gaga's SNL performance because it happened like the Daredevil episode that aired the Wednesday after. And I'm like, look at that fucking SNL performance where like, she's been gone for almost as long as Daredevil's been gone, and she like, in terms of like and she's just like, it's bizarre, it's weird, she's in it, she's giving it her all, and like also it just feels so good as like fans to be like, hey, something good, oh my god. And like so much of that was like what I was wanting for Daredevil, and I was wanting to feel like the swagger of Daredevil on the Netflix, Daredevil season 3, even Daredevil and Defenders, Daredevil and She-Hulk, like this, like he is firing on all cylinders. They love what they're doing. And then that bottle episode airs, and I'm just like, I've just seen we've seen so many bank hostage episodes, and it just didn't go hard enough. It just felt very slow. It didn't feel tense enough. Again, for like oh man, I'm just now like getting all these flashes of all the other like hostage episodes. I don't know. Either of y'all ever watch ER?
Oh, ER, back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the Ewan McGregor ER episode. I think it's season 3, where Ewan McGregor is playing like they're holding up a convenience store, and it's just Juliana Margulies, a whole bunch of people, and then Ewan McGregor and his brother, and then it's just the most tense, like someone's shot, someone's dying, all the people keep trying to escape, and they keep capturing in them. And for the Daredevil episode, it was mostly they were all just like sitting on the floor. Matt Murdock is being so charming, and every single time he was manipulating, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Give me more of that.
Yeah.
It would be great, like, oh man, why am I not thinking of what this is? There's like is it Ninja Turtles? No, what is it? No, it's fucking Doppelgangland. That is what I'm thinking
Okay,
of.
yeah.
When
The whole
when
bronze
Willow
stuff,
is
yeah.
going in and just like, hey, he's been gone a while. Can you go check on him? Like, imagine if it was Daredevil, like Matt Murdock's like down at the bank, and it's fucking Kamala's dad up top being like, oh, hey, you should go check on him. Like, it just felt like there was like so much potential that we didn't really realize until
That's fair.
the very end. So, but that's my like, bummer.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I am gonna say my other flex. Adam, I just told you this in text recently. Brett, I feel like I had to have told you the story. I feel like I've told this story a zillion times in this podcast, but Adam had never heard it before, so maybe I have not.
I was elated when I read this.
So when I worked at the Barnes & Noble in Park Slope, which was when I was like going through it, I didn't like post about like working it out because I had just come from working at BuzzFeed, and it was like, oh, I'm a failure. I have to go back to retail, which is like a very stupid thing that like I feel like all of us have in our brains because the internet is rotten.
Coming back, baby.
I was in so like that store is shaped weirdly. You walk in on the first floor and it's like just the bestsellers and the cafe, and then you have to go down an escalator to the basement, and it's huge. And that's where all the other sections are. I was like restocking whatever section. I had a big cart. It was the morning. I had my like caffeine, and I'm just like mindlessly shelving. And John Bernthal asks me where the graphic novels are. And I turn and I was like, oh my God. And he is gorgeous. And he was wearing I can't remember if it was Punisher or Defenders. I think it was Punisher crew jacket that was only zipped up to here with no shirt underneath. I was like, is this a trick? Like,
punish me. Let's go.
Yeah, like I was just like, and I held it together. He was asking the graphic novels, and I, as y'all would feel, it's like, well, great. I am the right person to ask. I can talk comics. So I was able to talk comics with him, and he was asking me like what Daredevil and Punisher stories I'd recommend. I didn't have that many because I'm not that big on, but I had Daredevil ones to recommend. We didn't have, I don't think, any of the ones that I recommended, of course. And at the end of it, I was just like, I just want to say, I wasn't always a big Punisher fan, but you made me love Punisher. Like, you're really good as Frank Castle. And he looked genuinely like pleased, and he shook my hand and was like, I really appreciate you saying that. I think it was because he could tell like, oh, this is a person who's like a real comic book fan. And they're saying that. Then he was like, wait a minute, do you have this book? And it was an author that I just happened to have read the book. Ryan Gaddis, Kung Fu High School. And he was like, oh, you know that book? That's my friend. And so we talked about that book. And it was like such a weird, like casual conversation. I'm like, I'll let you go, but it was great meeting you. I saw him 3 times that week, just out in that area. But so I like leave him. None of my coworkers knew who he was, so no one could share the excitement. He's leaving the store. He made a detour to come over to me and shake my hand and called me sir and thanked me for being so nice to him. And I was like, great. What
a babe. Honestly, what a man. Like, I think I was telling you as well, Ian, like, I've never listened properly or watched a full episode, but I know he has this podcast which breaks down like toxic masculinity as well. And I think for someone that plays a character like Punisher to have a podcast like that, and one of the recent episodes that he had was like Deborah Ann Wool was on there, like teaching him how to play D&D, and I fucking love that. I love their friendship. So what a man, what a character. Honestly, beautiful. I love that he called you sir as well.
So the thing I will say is I was like, he's talking to me the way he talks to Karen, but saying sir instead. Oh my God. Like I kept thinking like, he's only this polite with Karen. He loves me.
Ask me for coffee. Ask me for coffee.
He won't admit it. Oh God.
Like that was like, cause he was just so nice and polite and gorgeous. Like the fact that his like titties were out, and I was like, oh my God, what?
That's amazing.
He's so
he must
good.
have like been living in that area at that time when they were filming, because they did Right, Brett? They did film those in New York, those
Yeah.
series.
Oh yeah, all of them. It was
Yeah.
a big deal. Like they, yeah.
So like,
Big.
because I saw him in the diner on break that I went to that was next door to that Barnes and
Oh,
Noble, and I saw
amazing.
him walking down the street later. Both times I was like, I can't say hi, but maybe he'll say hi, and he'll say, but he like did not. But I was
Just,
like, maybe he'll
walking by,
remember
like,
me. Yeah.
yeah.
Ian's there with a Karen wig, just like, oh, I didn't notice you there.
I drop my bag right. I throw my bag in front of him, like, oh, I dropped that. I'm sorry, Frank Castle.
Oh, God. But
yes, that is my Punisher story.
I love that so
Yeah,
much.
I-
Oh,
That's
man.
film
If
it every
I-
Christmas. Film it,
I-
show it every Christmas.
I never have good luck with getting Marvel people on, but if I ever actually had him on the podcast, I would love to tell him that story.
He probably
Which-
would remember,
You think
honestly.
so?
Like
I
there was
know, yeah.
multiple touch points of like that Barnes and Noble comics, your friend's book. You came
That's
like, yeah.
true.
I think
That
yeah.
is true.
And it's
That-
all linked to his work as well, so it's not like he's going to forget that. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
It wasn't like a random run in. So
Yeah.
That's true. He could remember.
reach
that.
out, Ian.
Oh, God.
I'm trying to. I do. We got to talk about the last two episodes of the season
Okay.
because that is where
Mhm.
like everything hit into like top gear. Just like the, I don't know, but like just like again, drag race metaphors. This is like the episodes like 1 through 7 where is the queen and she's wearing like a giant tent and you like, okay, there's something under that tent. There is a sickening look under there. There are some reveals. There's probably some props, and like I'm waiting for the beat to drop on this fucking song, so we'll see like the
The rose
split.
petals.
Yeah,
Right.
and so like a lot of episode 8 like hits the ground like
Yeah.
running, and they're doing so much in that episode. Like it's like we all have a gala. We're all going. The entire cast is at the gala, so we can get a whole bunch of one-on-one conversations, like moving everyone's plots along, including, we haven't even talked about Michael Gandolfini as cute little Daniel Blake. Everyone's
Mhm.
so awful, slimy tech bro, whatever.
Wait, is
I love-
he James Gandolfini's
Yes.
Son, yeah,
Oh,
he
yes.
played
Yeah.
like Tony Soprano in the movie. Yeah, it's a younger version of him.
son? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's another. I love that character. I think it was very smart. I love him being on the show.
Yes.
I thought he was very good. I also
Yeah.
loved Sheila. And I don't like Sheila's heel turn in the season
Oh,
finale,
when
but I'm like,
Yes,
He's the one who turns in the warden.
yeah,
she-
like,
yeah.
but also it's like she very much knows like it is either me or him.
Yep.
It is,
Yep.
very Survivor, literal.
I did like that because of that, because I like that we saw
Yeah.
that she was crying because she knew what was going to happen.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
she knew that if she didn't do that, it would be a
Yeah.
death sentence for both of them.
Because
Mhm.
she's been pushing back smartly all season long, and she's
Yeah.
been being
Yep.
like, "Hey, this little turd doesn't
Yeah.
need to be anywhere near." But he's so like that guy. Like we all like Daniel Blake. Like we know that guy, and it's like a very scary person.
And I like the switch as well between them two, how like she was very much kind of like dictating like he was a child. And then like
Mhm.
it got to the point later on when he was like, no, actually, bitch, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
better sit down because I'm the one in charge. And her face when she was like, fuck, like things have changed now dramatically. And then obviously having that talk with the commissioner and you were like, okay, now they're starting to build their own resistance. Oh no, wait, she's turncoat. But you understood why. And I love that kind of that peak and fall there. It was great.
Yeah.
What I loved about that was them bringing Bullseye back, which again, like, why the fuck did we see him the other? Like, makes no sense that he wasn't in the rest of the season, except for if you know the behind the scenes shit, whatever, blah 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 blah.
Mm.
I loved the like cascading intensity of
Yeah.
those last two episodes,
Same.
where just like Kirsten's like, oh, by the way, Bullseye's gotta be released to the general population. It's like, oh my, what the fuck? The way that it felt like Netflix Daredevil, this like long stage
I agree.
planning, and then
Mhm.
like knocking the domino over, and then just Matt through his own like can't help himself, like I gotta go there, and then I gotta fucking punch him in the face, and that loosens up a tooth, which then he uses.
And
Like,
I love that. I
just,
loved him
like,
spitting the
great.
tooth out. And
and
it's
again, it
directly
was
from the comic.
directed. It's like these guys are horror directors, and like the times where they got to
Yeah.
like really lean into that, it almost feels like it's a tool in their arsenal that they can pull out, and they
Yeah.
aren't all the time. And that's
I
like,
said that
really
to
cool.
Zach, who I do the horror podcast with. I was
Yeah.
like, I think you might, because he's not a big Marvel gal, and I was like, I think you might like Daredevil. It has a little bit of like a tinge of like horror, serial killer,
Yeah.
like thriller from the early
More grit.
aughts. Yeah.
And then the shit of when he goes to Josie's, and Josie's like, let's finish off this thing that Foggy was drinking. And then Matt knows that's Foggy's victory drink. He wouldn't have been drinking that unless he knew. actually, then the way that they did pull Foggy in throughout the rest of the season, and I won't start crying, like my whole grief shit, like Foggy's one of my favorite characters. I have always loved that comic character. Iffy on Eldon Henson's portrayal of him. I thought he really he hit his rhythm in season 3 of Daredevil. He also got a haircut and started looking very cute. I thought he was fair with the beard. I was like, oh, he looks very 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 cute in this. That he immediately got shot and killed, but whatever. So like little touches, like Matt always carrying the program or the order of service or whatever from his funeral, like in his breast pocket of his suit, and it was never commented upon. It was just like little cutaway scenes of him like grabbing it and putting it in, and it's like that's I loved all of that. And so like making the fact that Foggy had the ace in the hole the whole time, and like tying all that in, like made his death not feel in vain or whatever. And then the goddamn best moment of the entire fucking season, the best moments of Daredevil, this is where I get on my stump, is in season 1 when Karen murders Wesley, because that is not how that scene is supposed to go. You know those scenes, and then all of a sudden he like gets a text, and all of a sudden she grabs the gun, puts 7 bullets in him, and it's like, what the fuck is this show? And then again in season 3 when Karen like walks into Fisk's like luxury prison, and he like thinks he has it on her of like, oh, you just revealed that that's Daredevil. And then she's like, whatever happened to your friend Wesley? And then tells him, I killed him. Like that fucking moment of the two of them. And the moment finally happened, it took them 8 episodes, but when they're dancing,
yes,
and Matt realizes Vanessa put the hit on Foggy. It wasn't Wilson. He hadn't come back yet. And the way like that, because what is beautiful about working with a show that has this much history, and why you shouldn't have ignored it when you rebooted it initially, is like as soon as Matt realizes that Vanessa put the hit on Foggy, it's like, who do you not fuck with Matt Murdock? You don't fuck with Foggy Nelson. For Wilson Fisk, who do you not fuck with? You don't fuck with Vanessa. And now Vanessa's actions have put her in a direct conflict with Matt Murdock, and these two forces, like, they are going to hit, and that ain't gonna sit well with Wilson Fisk at all. And it just is like your brain just goes down this like, oh, this is the absolute worst thing that could have happened for any of them. And then the way that it's got my beard in my mouth, I'm so excited. The way that he then immediately grabs Heather and is like, we're dancing, and then they like dance, and then they cut in. Oh, the way that like Heather's like, you should not go and confront the mayor at his party, and he's like, let's dance. And then he just like slams his like nightstick on that waiter. The waiter's walking by, he's like, bam, and then they go dance. And then may I cut in, and then just the two of them fucking close, and she's like matching him with intensity, and it's just like it's sexy because like these two are just like hot human beings having chemistry, but also like she's so fucking evil and he's so fucking angry, and Wilson Fisk is right there dancing with Matt's girlfriend, and it's like this is the kind of shit that Daredevil does so fucking well, and it took us 8 episodes and we finally got there. That's why it was so good. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it was good. I did.
So we've been waiting so long for anything to happen, and it was very much like a shabam. Like now shit is popping off. Like,
yeah. No, I loved it. I love that they were like in that conversation. So like when he does cut in, starts dancing with Vanessa, it's like they're dancing, but they're also playing chess. And it's like they're both like kind of taking each other's counters every single time they say something. And then right at the end, when kind of Matt's like, oh shit, I've got my confirmation now, and then takes a bullet for Fisk.
Yeah.
Like just the tension of when it built up to that moment. And like even the way like Fisk kind of like grabs Matt like as he does it and like throws him off him. It's just it's like that's a dance move in itself. Like the way they move together, it works so well. But yeah, like when that gun goes off and Matt jumped for that bullet, I literally like shrieked. I was like, what the fuck? But in the best way. Like, and then that like ending to then lead into the finale.
Yeah.
Really, really well done.
Just absolute, just stunt queen, Matt Murdock. Oh my God. But then the way that then cascades into like Fisk now is able to use that assassination attempt into a false flag, an actual false flag, I guess, in order to like, well, now all of a sudden we need to have And which makes me I do wonder, did Fisk hire Bullseye to assassinate him so that Matt would, knowing, or hire Bullseye like, hey, hit me in the shoulder, and like Matt took the bullet. It was like, oh, this is even better, you know?
Right.
I thought we knew that Bullseye was just going for revenge. I thought that's why.
Well, no, yeah, but I'm wondering, like, is that going to be a reveal? Like, were they making it, you know?
I mean, I appreciated that. Of all the 1-for-1s we're doing, we're also gonna do the assassination attempt thing.
Right.
Oh, yeah, did that
I just, I forget. Is the power's out next episode, right?
Yeah, and then he cuts off the power and blames it on vigilantes.
Yep.
You know, we fucking see cops murdering civilians and then putting masks over their faces.
That my student pointed out that specific scene. He was like, I couldn't believe when the one cop was like, no, he's got a mask after he killed like a teenager. I was like,
bitch, you couldn't believe that? You couldn't believe that?
Well, no. Like, he was just like, he couldn't believe they let them do that. Yeah. Because we were talking about how we couldn't believe that Disney, like, all the things they let them do. Yeah, no, I liked all of that. I liked the power outage stuff. It also like ramped up for me the like stakes, right?
Oh yeah,
because we know we already knew Kingpin is Kingpin, right? That's not he's corrupt, but like turning off the entire power to the city so you can murder the chief of police.
And then
also trapping everyone in the city as well. Like nobody gets in or out.
And like, also just telling your cops like, hey guys, just go have fun. Just go do you know, just like whoever you want to kill. Just go have fun.
Kill a few people as a treat. Do whatever you
here's
want.
some masks. Here's some like dime store masks. Like, you know, go out. If you just want to put them on.
I also read that like I saw an interview where the showrunners were like, we wanted to make sure it was all just regular people in that bar. I do just wish we had the Defenders because it would have made sense.
Same. There was space at the end for Jessica and Luke, 100%, and obviously Iron Fist. Okay,
like,
but
it's like this is also like the weird culture that we live in now, where like if it was a Defenders in it, then do you get people being like so fan servicey?
Yeah.
Too much fan service, and it's just like, well, I don't know. Like I like being serviced. And also it would make.
And again, what I said with like earlier, with like that's how comic books are told. Lately, I feel like a lot of complaints people have are I don't understand how comic books are like done because like I saw Brave New World is bad. It's not good.
I ain't even seen it yet. That's how bad it is.
It's not as it's like not offensively bad. It's just like so inoffensively boring. And like. At one point, which we know from I think they showed in the trailer, like they reference the celestial hand or whatever. So many people told me, well, like, that's confusing. Why is that there? And I'm like, it's not confusing. It's a comic book universe. Sometimes you're like, I don't remember that, but like, you just got to go with it because that's the way comic books.
Well, and also that's like how, I mean, in 1977, no one knew what a spice run of Kessel was, but like they mentioned that fucking, like the whole point of like media that's really engrossing is like it can drop you in media res.
And like they
that is the
build
point.
a world and like,
and in theory, like, you know, if the Defenders had been there, there is a thing of like, I shouldn't have had to watch
and
it's hundreds of episodes of this. But it's like, no, but like if just the fact anyone being in that bar to stand with Matt is itself a moment. Now, if it's also the Defenders, then people who know the Defenders is like, that's cool. Like the heart moment of that last shot isn't, I mean, it ultimately. Okay, I'm trying to think. Ultimately, what is awesome about that ending is Matt's speech. And how it is edited with all of the footage of like real New Yorkers, queer New Yorkers, like diverse New Yorkers, intercut with people in fucking cages that shouldn't be there. And then then just like the perfect line of like, we are the city without fear. Like, oh my God. Like how like that is so good. So like just way to good like that, and then seeing him there with just like ragtag, like it's fucking like, well, we're gonna fucking try, you know, like that is the moment, like that is what's supposed to make you feel something. if it's
So-
also Kristen Ritter and Mike Coulter there, like that doesn't change.
Yes.
Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
like that doesn't add or detract. It just like, that's another layer and you can go read some articles or whatever. But like in theory, the writer, director, and actress and performances and whatnot have all done their job because they've made you feel something. It's like,
yes.
yeah.
So you stepped on my toes, Brex. I was going to say that then if they were there, people, I really hate when people are like, so I had to watch a whole season. And it's like, you didn't. No, you don't.
No.
You don't. Like,
This is where, like, this is where I do think that, like, prestige TV and, like, binge culture and all that shit has ruined a lot of the way that we interact with stories. Because before TV on DVD, even, it was very much like, oh, I want to start watching, let's use ER as an example. You know, it's like, I want to start, okay, no, I'm going to use this because, bitch, are y'all aware of Beyond the Gates, the new CBS daytime soap opera?
No.
They're doing a new 5 times a week daily soap opera called Beyond the Gates on CBS. That is exactly what you think it is. And it's been very bleak times over here. My husband works for Columbia, so it's been the college. So it's been very bad. So he's put on Beyond the Gates, and baby, we watched almost 40 episodes in 4 days. We're watching a new soap opera from like ground floor. And you know how complicated soap operas get. But like what is so interesting watching it from the beginning is like, man, even in episode 1, there's exposition dumps. But it's like on episode 20, we're now realizing, oh yeah, they're having to repeat a lot of like plot points and show flashbacks and stuff because a lot of people are insane and have spent 20 hours watching the previous episodes. But that's how TV used to be. That's how serialized stories used to be, is you just jump in.
To bring up the audience of this podcast's main attraction, Buffy the Vampire
Slayer.
Like,
22 episodes.
First episode was School Hard.
I can remember thinking, oh, I don't remember her mentioning having a sister, and just assuming I had missed it because sometimes you miss things. And like, and I remember thinking that was what I thought. I was like, oh, everyone's being dumb. She probably mentioned a sister before. I just don't remember her mentioning, like, she probably lived with the dad that was mentioned before, and I just missed it. And like, you just keep going, right?
And
like,
now, and now because all of these, you know, you could read if you want to start X-Men. There are people. I had one friend who was like, "Yeah, I want to start reading X-Men comics. I'll start with #1." And I had to be like, "No, do not start with X-Men Volume 1, #1 from 1963. Do not do that. I mean, like, start in 1975 if you're like, you know, but there that mentality of like, I need to start at the beginning. Is this it? For movies, yeah. Books, yeah. But like, the beauty of television and like comics and stuff is that it can go for years and years and years and years. And that dense mythology is what is so much fun about it. And I think that people look at it almost as a burden when it is actually a feature, is a bug when it should be a feature.
I have said this a lot, and people online do this so often, where like, they'll be like, no, this character is supposed to be XYZ. And of course they can find one fucking panel from 60 years of comic book history that, yes, validates what they're saying that character 100% had to be. And I can be like, I read comic books for nearly 40 years of my life and I never saw that. But it's because there's so many. So don't tell me, nope, that's what that character's always been. And so many people do that online, and it's so
well, you want to know, Daniel Blake, the character that our good pal James Michael Gandolfini's playing, the little smarmy little tech bro. If you go Dan Blake Earth 616, that is a character, and it is a Martian spy from one issue of Tales to Astonish number 25 from 1961. The same, I think that's like a year after the Fantastic Four debuted.
That's so weird.
Like, and it's like, yeah, that's a coincidence. Like, yeah, it's like, yeah, man, you can go back and find like, damn, but like, it's like, he's not a Martian spy, y'all.
There'll be a quarter of the internet who are like, no, he is. We're gonna see it in season 2.
I always remember when I started working at Barnes & Noble, when I started realizing there were so many books with the same title, and it wasn't because anyone ripped off anyone. It's just people have a lot of the same thoughts. I think about that a lot. Like Slayerfest, I've been accused of stealing tweets, and I've literally never stolen a tweet. And I'm just like, yeah, I have no doubt that we as Buffy fans or we as X-Men fans had the exact same stupid fucking tweet idea.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I stole it. Like,
Right. And I mean, yeah, even just to get back to Daredevil for a sec, but like
Good job, Adam.
even if like, Jessica and Luke there were at the end, and say if like you hadn't watched Jessica Jones or Luke Cage, TV shows work in such a way now that way you can be like, okay, I can go along with these characters, I'll learn along the way. So like
Yes.
kind of learn about like Jessica through watching this show, for example, or like you learn about
Yeah.
that. Like there's probably a lot of people who didn't watch like Daredevil,
Right.
and yet when Matt Murdock shows up in like Spider-Man, you'd be like, okay, he seems like an important character. I'm sure I'll learn about him more as time comes. And that kind of leads me to this question as well, because obviously we have a new Spider-Man movie coming out, and yet, Kingpin and Spider-Man are so closely linked together in comic book history. And like, are we going to finally get this coming together? Like, are they going to reference the blackout that happened in the city? Because Spider-Man should be there.
I don't even but there's like the whole Sony Marvel of it all. Like, how integrated is this Spider-Man movie?
I did
Exactly.
see an interview with Vincent D'Onofrio. I read one where he said that legally they can't use Kingpin in the movies. I don't know if that's him just like being cutesy, but he was like, there's a bunch of legalities why Kingpin will never be in the movies.
I mean,
Brett might know.
That was like definitely the case, pre Disney buying Fox.
Oh, was
like
it?
Back in the Netflix days, I'm pretty sure. But like,
I never.
He probably just hasn't updated. Like, yeah, he might just not know it.
Because I never I never understand all that. Because I was like, well, he was in the Daredevil movie, but they've already used Daredevil in the MCU movies, so.
Oh, God.
I like when I have to explain the legalities to someone, and I'm like, I don't fucking know. They're allowed to put them in a cartoon, but nothing else. I don't know. Like,
but also, like, I mean, it could have been Haley Steinfeld and fucking Kamala Khan. Like, it could have been,
right? Because she does. I forgot. You're right. Kate Bishop does live in New York.
Yeah, like there could have been, but I also do understand that, like, that also,
right.
That also like detracts from it being. I also don't think that. I don't really think that it detracts from it being Daredevil's show, because again, comics are comics. But like,
yeah.
I remember. So to relate this to Buffy again, I remember when Joss Whedon said that about having Sarah Michelle Gellar on the Angel finale, and he was like, "No, that would detract." And I like understand to a point. We don't like him. Just getting that out of the way.
Yeah.
But like to a point, I understood why he said that. But also, I'm like, but Angel came from Buffy. Like that's
yeah.
I think, yes, I would be so excited to see her if she showed up in the finale, but I don't think it like that makes sense. It's not like that wouldn't make sense.
And he was in the finale of Buffy.
Yeah,
so. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and also if you want to have your cake and eat it too, then you do the ending that we had, and then in the post credits you have Frank Castle getting out of prison or whatever, his little dog kennel. And then you do another post credits that is like, hey man, we late to the party,
Yes,
like,
yes.
You can do that.
Right. You're right. If they wanted to like keep it,
or no, you have like Kamala Khan walk into this bar and then be like, hey, we don't serve underage. It's like, no, my dad sent me. I think like
my dad said you might know.
That would be fun. Like,
her with Matt would be really good.
I know.
Like,
oh yeah, they're dynamic. Yeah.
And I also do think that, like, you keep Daredevil as bleak as it is, and that's why I think Infinity War works so well, is like toss all these characters into the bleakness. Toss Ms. Marvel into that blackout. Like, let's actually see what that is. Like, because you don't make her any less chipper and don't make it any less bleak, but then like by contrasting them, suddenly it's way bleaker.
Like,
and it's also like a bit of light in the dark as well. Because like Ian and I have covered like Invincible, which I absolutely adore, and like in that last season, like we have a lot of characters like Alan, we have William, who of course are like these more comical characters, but they are being. I don't know, Brett, do you read or have you watched Invincible?
I've read like the first 50 issues or so, maybe even 100, but I never watched the show.
But just like a few issues.
Just a few. But even that, like, those little moments of when we get these, like, almost to a degree comic relief characters, which is a term that annoys me a little bit sometimes because it's derogatory, because there's a lot more to Kamala than just that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But when you put them into a situation, as you were saying, Brett, where it's like utterly bleak, and to see them exist in that realm and how it affects them or how they overcome that, and then working alongside someone like Matt, and then she's a big fangirl anyway of people, so to see that, and it's just, it's a brilliant mixture, and I love that kind of levity of like, we're bringing some light into this bleakness, and how will that work? Will that get dimmed? Will that shine?
Oh, I love that shit. I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark. Like, it's or it's Nebula and Rocket suddenly having a bond because they're the only two members of their fucked up family left in Endgame.
Yeah.
Like, it's that kind of
Yeah.
shit.
Or even like Daredevil on She-Hulk when she's
Oh.
like,
Yes.
when she thinks he's not blind and she's like, are you pretending to be blind? That is so problematic.
Yeah.
And like Matt is kind of like, what the fuck? Like
And that
That's
walk
also-
of shame.
That's also what I want. Like, I'm also ready, and I would love to get more of this in season 2. Like, Daredevil is also a character that is so elastic in terms of tone, and the fact that Charlie Cox can pull this off,
Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I would like to be able to see these shows explore more than just the Frank Miller mode. Because, like, again, Mark Waid, when he took over Daredevil with Paulo Rivera and Javier Rodriguez and then Chris Samnee, it was hailed as like, it's the swashbuckling Daredevil. He's fun. It's funny. But then it, like, you slowly realize, no, this is the Daredevil arc about Foggy getting cancer and Matt dealing with depression and finding out that his mom had postpartum depression, which is why she gave him up. And it's like, no, like, it gets depressing. It gets dark because life gets dark. And it's only when you have that light and the dark, you can contrast it. And I'm like, I'd love to see more of that.
And Daredevil is still part of that universe, right? Like he
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
I think of, one of the Avengers stories that I really hope we're leading up to, because I think it would work so well in the MCU, is New Avengers when they have the big prison breakout.
Yeah.
And like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, like, well, she's not, no, she is there, right? No, Jessica Drew is there. That's what I'm thinking.
Jessica Drew and Luke Cage is there, and then Jessica Jones comes a little bit later.
Yeah. Like, I think of that, and like when Daredevil says no to joining even though he's there with them the whole time, that whole fight, then he's like, no, I don't want to join the Avengers.
Like,
that's good. I like that. I like that kind of stuff. And I think he would fit perfectly into something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, yeah, he's gonna like kick some ass alongside of them, but he doesn't want to like join their team. Like,
no, I have a day job. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah. Honestly, that's what I always keep thinking for the Defenders, which could work if they just did something like that, where like that's why they come back together, because whatever. But yeah, no, I love that story, and like for me, that like showed Daredevil's versatility, that you can put him with like the Avengers that are more like do-gooder, whatever, and like it still works.
I really, and like what I hope that they lean into is the Ann Nocenti run from the mid to late 80s, because like that is the hidden gem of Daredevil runs, is the Ann Nocenti John Romita Jr. run, because it is, I mean, it's Daredevil doing straight up. It is gritty. It is crime. It is horror. It is surreal. It is like satire. It is also just, it's Mephisto as a main bad guy in that, because Daredevil just keeps getting fucking going to hell. Like it gets, it is so like, it's the Typhoid Mary era is that. And also Alice Eve was so fucking good as Typhoid Mary. And I wish that they would bring her back. That'll never happen.
I want you to know, I was watching Daredevil season 3 being like, when's she popping up? I didn't realize she's not in.
She's Iron Fist season 2, and she's so fucking terrifying in it and so good. And I really wish they would do that. But like, yeah, like I really like, he's very flexible, and I'm like, people want Mephisto, let's give him Mephisto and Daredevil.
Yeah, because Daredevil does fit with the spooky characters well. The like, supernatural, like
And
that remember, I'm sure you do, Brett, Marvel Knights.
Yeah.
Like the team he was on with like Moon Knight and Cloak and Dagger. I love that.
Shang-Chi, I think he was on that. Yeah.
I always love a like ragtag team of like B-listers. That's like,
just like who was left over? All you weird 70s gritty.
Yeah. Like, sure, throw Cloak and Dagger in there too. Why not? I love that.
I love it.
And like we have most of those characters. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna end this recording because otherwise we'll keep yapping. Brett, what was your favorite? I think you already said it. Your favorite moment of this season?
Yeah, it's Matt and Vanessa finally coming face to face and real. Like that is when like the rose petals fell, baby. Like that is like
fair.
That is this version of Daredevil finally living up to the promise of 5 years of waiting for this, and I just cannot wait for season 2, baby. He's wearing a costume that has DD on the chest in season 2.
That costume does look really good. Yeah,
wait.
Adam, what was your favorite scene?
When Foggy gets shot. No, I'm joking. So my favorite, clearly, I think, obviously, it's the last episode in general, but in particular, the scene at the bar at the end. I love that. It's like everything that you've been waiting to hear. It's like building up, like, this is on us now. We've got to take this back. It's like, it's a beautiful, like, springboard into season 2. And I just love that. I love it. As a character moment for Matt, for me, it's chef's kiss.
For me, it's got to be Punisher with those cops. Him calling them clowns while them, like you said, Brett, them still being like, well, we know you killed a bunch of us, but like, we're cool, right? You're gonna,
Yeah,
and
like, you
him
like,
being
we're
like,
doing this for you, man. We fucking love you.
and him just like swatting them away like annoying gnats, and he's like bleeding out, getting punched, and he's like, oh no, you're all stupid, I'm not joining you. Like,
This is dumb.
in my head I was
love
like, Frank, just say yes and then kill them when they untie you. Like, lie to them and say you will join so they will release you, and then you can just kill them. But Frank
Mhm.
can't possibly lie to them because he hates them. Like,
Love it.
just love it. What grade do we give this season, Adam?
Oh, okay. I'm at. I mean, I know like we kind of did critique a lot of it, but I'm still at like I still really enjoyed it overall. Like I really, really did. So I'm kind of at like an A minus.
Okay.
That's where I sit with
All
it.
right, Brett.
Oh, God damn it. I think Jesus Christ. I mean, C minus is what hits me, just because like that middle chunk, like it, you know,
Oof.
it's A for those last 2 episodes, but it just was. I also think having a weekly, having to wait a week and then being disappointed every week. Also, if I could just watch all 9 of these back to back, like it might.
I've gotten really on board with the weekly going.
Oh,
back
I
to
love the
weekly
week to
release.
week.
I like it.
I love the week to week when
I
it's
like
great.
to digest. Yeah.
There's only been like a few shows where I'm like, this might have benefited. Like, Adam, wasn't there some show we talked about that I said would have benefited from? Whatever. But like, there are some shows where I'm like, yeah, this probably would work better as a binge. But like,
Right.
yeah. I think I give it a B plus, maybe a flat B. Yeah, I'll think a flat B, because it's like I do the stuff I liked. I really liked stuff I didn't like. I really didn't like. But I think overall I still really liked it. And I like, this has me really. I'm glad season 2 is not 5 years away. I'm glad it's next year.
Yeah.
Like a normal TV show.
Yeah, this does feel like it's set up to be their most
Please.
normal of the like live action shows for Marvel. And I like that, because I feel like if anything, that has been a detriment to the other shows where it's like, nope, we got to wrap this up, and then we don't, but there's no more seasons.
Yeah, we're never seeing any of those characters again.
Yeah, and
any
like,
of them.
That's why I will always say that Hawkeye is so good, because Hawkeye does wrap up the story they're telling in that season. We wrap everything up in a nice little package. We like lead into Echo, which didn't need that much wrapping up, and like, yeah, that's why I will always like talk about Hawkeye. Brett, let everyone know where they can find you and your new pop culture website.
Please, everyone, go to popheist.com. It is, we're trying to do pop culture journalism free from the algorithm and corporations. So it is literally everyone there writes whatever they want. They pitch it, and I pretty much greenlight everything. And
I write for it
want
sometimes.
to be, yes, Michelle Trachtenberg eulogy. Thank you very much. And also White Lotus, thirst for them, those incest brothers. I didn't watch White Lotus, so that's what I.
Wait, did both those pieces do well?
I think. I mean, like, hey, on social media, baby.
Fair.
I don't know what anything does. I just need, please. I want to be able to pay freelancers more, and also I would like to have money myself. So please subscribe and support independent journalism at Pop Heist. And then I'm also a drag queen named Barb Hardley, and you can watch that whenever I get a chance to, which is very.
And Pop Heist you can follow at Pop Heist, right?
Pop Heist Media on Instagram, and then Pop Heist on Blue Sky.
Cool. Adam, where can everyone find you and your podcast?
Yes, so if you type in Straughan87 at Straughan87, you'll find my face on everything, whether that be Instagram, all the socials. Type that in. If you want to come and listen to Ian and I talk all about Invincible and how much we love that show, we've covered all of that. We covered all of Invincible seasons 1, 2, and 3, but we've also done stuff like The Last of Us. We're gonna very shortly be covering The Last of Us season 2 on there as well, so check out that if you're a big fan of that. But yes, that is Last Week on Pod, so if you do type that in, you'll find it on there, and it's also on all socials under Last Week on Pod.
And if you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on all social media platforms at SlayerFestX98. You can find all of our episodes are video recordings as well, so you can watch us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you get your podcasts. Please leave us a good rating and give us a 4-star review or whatever. And negate all the reviews that say I talk like a Valley girl, which aren't incorrect, but like, why is that a negative?
Fuck off.
And if you want to support us on Patreon, we are going through X-Men the Animated Series, every Buffy season as it turns 25, Batman the Animated Series, we've covered Firefly, Harley Quinn, and some other shows. And I have a sex and relationship talk show I do with Zachary Patton Garcia called My Nudie Judy. We do monthly Zooms. Any and all support is much appreciated because, much like Brett, I would also like to pay bills. So it is appreciated. And yeah, we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.